Sadonia,
Yes,
it's very important for us to put this into perspective. How did this become a phenomenon? I'm sure it started somewhere, because we always say narcotics, narcotics, but really, I don't know whether we can categorize this as generally the abuse of narcotics.
So we are specifically zooming in on the red. That's the red
Yes,
225.
yeah, but I want us to trace some level of public health history of the abuse
Okay.
and the behavior pattern leading to the phenomenon we're having now.
So that's the generic name of the drug in there is tramadol. So it's a painkiller. It's an opioid. It's a synthetic. What that means is it's actually created in the lab intentionally to serve a purpose, to mimic what happens in nature. There are natural chemicals in the system that the body itself produces when you are in some form of pain. So this is intentionally created in the lab to mimic how it works. So it's supposed to be prescribed by the doctor, and FDA approves the doses that are approved by FDA. The tablet comes in 50 milligram and 100 milligram.
Okay.
Ideally, it's for moderate to severe pain use. When you have moderate to severe pain, the doctor will prescribe it for you. But because of how it works, humans as we are, people have found out that when they use it, they feel some form of euphoria. Because the way that tramadol works, it leads to an increase in a chemical that leads to your feeling of euphoria. That's dopamine. So the feeling of euphoria is what makes people want to use it again. So when the person begins to become addicted and become dependent on it, it's because they want that same feeling again, even beyond the relief of the pain for which it was prescribed. Now, when you start using it, after some time, your body begins to adapt to it, become used to it. That's what we call tolerance. So you will need a higher dose to have the same effect. Now, in a bid to chase that, the doctors will not be prescribing for you all the time. So then, I would say black markets, not so well-meaning business people decided to take advantage of that tendency where they go to the lab to create higher doses. So the doctor may prescribe maybe 50 milligram once a day or twice a day or thrice a day maximum. But in this case, the Red 225, it has 225 milligram.
What?
And sometimes they combine it with other things.
You mean from 50, they deliberately have put together the content in such a way that it has a strength of 255 milligrams?
Some may have 100, 150, 125. It varies. But what they do mostly, they add it to other things.
Okay. So they are taking the tablets. And then they add it to what and what?
Some add it to energy drink. Some add other form of same substance of abuse. For example, some will combine the red with tafrodol, which we all became aware because of the BBC expose. Then they add weed. And some also smoke cigarette and other ones. The reason is that the way you felt the first time when you use this substance, the euphoria, you are never ever likely to get there again. But you'll be chasing it. You want to still feel the same. And now because you want the same feeling and you may not get it with the same dose that you used a week or a month ago, you have to increase the dose. So increasing the dose, you have to use more. And when you use more and you may not even get the full effect, you want to then combine with other things that work in separate ways, where they add the cough mixtures, the codeine-based cough mixtures, the energy that gives them high caffeine, that's a stimulant, the weed, and some may add other ones, cocaine and other ones. They combine a lot of things in different forms. In smoothies, these days, smoothies is a common way they use it. And it's
you mean in normal public life? When you have people taking smoothies, you would think it's normal smoothie. Let's say at a party or something.
Not all smoothies are smoothies.
Like a cocktail.
Not all cocktail are cocktail anymore. In our current dispensation, not all cocktail are, let's say, innocent cocktails. Not all smoothies are innocent smoothies. I've had to go to some people's homes.
Yeah, so somebody told me they drank Sobolo one day at an event.
Sobolo is one of them. So I've had to go to a home of one of my private clients and have to help this particular person, he or she, to empty wherever they were hiding their substance. It was well prepared with lots of ingredients to make it appealing. But it's all drugs of abuse that has been infused with this flobolo or whatever smoothie. So when they start using, some people start using it genuinely, say among health workers or elderly people who are in pain. They may start using the tramadol genuinely, and after some time, when the tolerance sets in, they will need higher doses. So they may keep going to hospital, do hospital shopping, and be begging doctors to prescribe just tramadol for them because they are becoming addicted and dependent on it. And when they realize the doctors are refusing because we know the health implications, then they resort to the black market. And the black market is so welcoming. They have it in all forms, all names, just higher doses and with other combinations. Typically, for example, the tafrodol issue that came up. It is tapentadol, which is the opioid, again synthetic, specifically created for its effect, mixed with carisoprodol, which is a muscle relaxant. Now, this is done to get you hooked on it. And what you need to know, any substance of abuse, someone is making millions and billions of it. Because the use starts...
You mean some pharmaceutical agencies, some
business people, pharmaceutical agencies, people who are involved in the importation and then the distribution. There's a whole channel, there's a whole gang that goes with it. So it's a business for someone to keep you hooked onto these substances. Somebody is making money off people's addiction.
Mr. Rizodro, you are with the National Narcotics
Control
Commission. You're supposed to be guarding our borders, because I know some friends of mine who are at the border post, whether it's the airport, the Tema Harbor, or the Elubu border points, or whether it's the Misiga border point, or the entry point. So how come we allow this? What's the excuse usually that is given to allow some of these ideally illegal drugs? I don't know whether I can call them illegal, because once it's prescription, I don't know.
Thank you, Roland. All over the world, there is an issue of an influx of new psychoactive substances. New psychoactive substances are substances that are kind of created to mimic what are already in the system. So, for example, in the past, Ghana was fighting with tramadol. I think one of your sisters, Nanaba, was all over the place trying to fight against tramadol. So now the bad guys realize that tramadol is on red alert. So what can we do? They go into the lab and combine other chemicals. So before border control or law enforcement will get to know that there is a new substance, a chunk of it has already entered the system. So for example, we're in Ghana fighting against tramadol. Then all of a sudden, an Indian farmer goes into the lab, combines tapentadol and carisoprodol, comes out with this Royal 225, and start bringing it into the country under the disguise of painkillers.
You mean the Indians bring it themselves, or we have businessmen here?
No, the businessmen will import. Per the BBC expose, we saw the man saying that he has customers in Ghana, Nigeria, all over the place. So FDA, they go to FDA under the disguise of a pain reliever on the market. Okay, so FDA check the combination and it's, tapentadol. Oh, okay, it's a pain reliever. It's not tramadol. So they allow it in. Before law enforcement will learn and get to know that this new substance is already in the system. And like you said, we have our people at the various border posts. Until the BBC expose, tapentadol or this timakin and tafrodol, as he mentioned, was coming. But the moment we saw the expose, the red alert was placed on it. That was when our guys started tagging it at the port and seizing them. So the excuse is that the new psychoactive substances, they keep enhancing or producing. So most of these substances that comes are not even in the laws. They are not banned in our laws because the law or the lawmakers are not even aware that there is this new substance.
So you're saying that those who are in the illegal trade of manufacturing them are ahead of you guys?
Not necessarily. That's why I said no. So if you read the World Report 2023, they will tell you that within the space of 10 years, there's been about 11,000 new psychoactive substances. And just in 2023, 78 new ones were discovered. These 78, they've never been in existence before. So it's just going to the lab and tweaking the chemical structure of the substance. So before you realize, it's already in. So in the past, maybe traditional substance abuse, we're looking at cannabis or marijuana, cocaine, heroin, methamphetamine, and other things. But they just go into the lab, add something to it. So if I'm looking for cannabis, and now somebody gets to the pot with maybe contumely infused or contumely mixed with cannabis, in my mind, I feel it's contumely. So I'll be, oh, this one is a normal substance. So until it is taken, or a sample is taken, or we see the devastating effect, and we take it to the lab to test, to find out what really this substance is, before you realize it will just be in the system. And let me emphasize on this. Most of these substances are not directly under Narcotics Control Commission. We deal with the illegal hard drugs. But these prescription drugs or controlled substances that are produced in higher doses may be termed as illegal, but they are not so much. If you come into our schedules, we don't have tramadol in there. But now I realize the effects, and now we need to find a way of.
Okay, so you're saying that we have a pharmacological industry, and so the drug is imported for a certain public health use, but then they know certainly that it's going to filter through or outside the public health system, and it's going to be abused. Certainly, that's what you're saying.
More or
and
less.
so it's not captured as illegal.
More or less.
And so FDA will pass it because it is supposed to be imported.
Yes.
It's supposed to be certified.
Yes.
Standard authority will do all that.
Exactly.
Okay.
So we are looking out for the hard
Yeah,
ones. If it's cocaine, it's red. If it's heroin, red alert. If it's methamphetamine, if it's cannabis, they are all tagged. But these new active substances I keep mentioning, they are synthetic substances. They just go into the lab, pick some chemicals, put them together, and come out with something else. For example, let me give you this trend that maybe we might not be paying much attention to. There's this thing they call balloon. Balloon, yes, yes. So you go to parties,
Which
you go
one?
to the clubs.
Nitrogen
Nitrous
gas.
oxide. Yes.
The nitrogen gas thing.
Yeah, it's called nitrous oxide. So you go into the parties, or you go to clubs, and people are blowing balloons.
And these are normal, like...
These are chemical, industrial chemicals.
Normal parties. Well,
Normal
university
parties.
students, young people,
Yes.
even it could be corporate workers
Yes,
or...
yes. And people are just blowing the balloon. And
being ecstatic.
more or less, because it has this euphoric feeling once you inhale. Yes, we know the effect, but if you look at nitrous oxide as it is, it's a chemical, an industrial chemical, which is a legal substance. Just that people have found a way of using it wrongly to get an effect. So that is how difficult fighting drug abuse is, because you don't know what somebody will be abusing in the next phase.
Dr. Tutubuai, is there a policy health failure?
Yes, so Roland,
and why would you say that?
So Roland, let me again say good morning to our viewers. You see, this whole system, for me, I feel that, yes, Ghana as a country, I wouldn't say 100% failure, from Ghana as a country. But again, when it comes to, the use of drugs, let me say drugs in quotes. So I want to mean drugs in general, whether they are pain reliefs, whether they are drugs that have been sanctioned, by the drugs authority or whatever. But I feel again that, Roland, you see, I was listening to
Risodro.
Okay, so for me, you see, when as a country we want to be serious with some of these things, yes, I understand the point that he's coming from, that some of the drugs may not fall under the direct, supervision of the Narcotic Control Board. Again, I just want us to, analyze something here. That is it also the case that if, let's say, a drug does not fall under your control, you can't also, push out intelligence, to the relevant institutions that can also take control of it, like the police, FDA, standard authority, and the rest. Because you see, when we check the laws, the existing laws, PNDC law, I think 236, talks about certain substances, drugs, I think they quote it as narcotics, all right? Okay. So if these substances and its abuse is affecting our country, and these substances fall under, you know, illegal usage, what do we do as a country? Can't we, you know, move in and then look at some of these things? Now, for instance, FDA, Food and Drugs Board, 225.
Red.
Red.
Red, yeah.
You know, it's a drug, isn't it?
Yes. What's the name?
It's it depends on the brand, but we have Royal 225, we have Timakin, we have Tafro.
The one they sell at Tudu, Ashaman Station, La Paz.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Those who hawk and do hard work, they use it all.
Yeah. So you see, if it is termed as drug, you know, then of course it falls under the purview of what? Food and Drugs Board, isn't it? They have the mandate to ensure that drugs that are coming in, right, are drugs that are certified. Now, you see, those of us in business, if you want to start something as an entrepreneur, okay, let's say you put certain combinations together to get this, how do you call it, herbal drug, and you want to sell it, FDA will pick samples. And from time to time, they'll come and check whether the same combination is what we are using. Anytime that you want to make a change, you must still go back to them for them to be sure that these things are not harmful to human body. All right. Now, why is it that 225 is coming in? You are not checking. Let's say it gets to the blind side of you. All right. But it is already in the market. How often do you go into the market
to do swoops?
To check drugs that are on in pharmacies, drugs that are chemical shops, drugs that are on the market. And how do you also put intelligence there to also check and see that these are the business guys who are pushing it, you know? And you see, once we come up with that information, I think that the law is behind you to as it were, you know, have some kind of collaborations with law enforcement agencies, you know, to drill down on these guys and then deal with them. Because you see, when we check, how do you call it? PNDC law 236, it tells you about prohibitions. It talks about forfeiture of, you know, property that business people derive out of.
It's also in Act 109.
Exactly. You see, so some of these things, it is not that the laws are not there. The laws are there, the implementation. That's why initially I said
Act 1019 rather.
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying that some of these things, you know, could be a failure on our part as a country. All right. And we need to understand that, look, Narcotic Control Board, all right, I'm not pushing the blame to them, but I think that they need to step up, you know, their game and then help Ghana as a country to fight some of these things. Else, look, the direction that we are going, Roland, is too dangerous. Some of us who are in the field of education, okay, we see some of these things.
You mean some of your students come to class and they are stoned?
They are hard. All right, let me put it that way, they are hard. But you see that there was a study that was conducted, I think about 5 years back. And the outcome of the study shows that about 54.12% of boys, SHS, they are in drug. They use one form of drug or the other.
Abusing it.
And 59.9% of these boys, they take cigarettes. JHS, SHS. Okay, alcohol use is just something else. And when it comes to the ladies, these young girls, 12 years, 13 years, 15 years, shisha. And we know that shisha these days, they add narcotic drugs.
They are lacing it.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, they do. And so, young girl will come out of a party days. And I mean, if you have 15 years, why would you use a particular drug as a pain reliever?
All right.
These are all things that we need to check. And I feel that when relevant institutions, come together to fight, even including heads of educational institutions, I think the better for us.
All right.
Yeah, Roland, sorry, if you allow me to add something to what Doc just said.
Because he's saying that for institutions that are supposed to be doing the patrolling and then authorization and checking, etc., you need to work along the value chain service provider.
That collaboration is there. But I'm even talking about the law that he was quoting. So the PND's law 236 actually gave birth to Narcotics Control Board, but now we've repealed that one and we brought the Act 1019 as you were talking about. So that makes us a commission with more enhanced powers, and we've added a lot of substances that in the previous law.
All of it in Act
1019 now, yes. And like he was saying, the study was done by the ex-president in a committee to do this research. Yes, it's true. The study found that most of these ladies are using what do you call it, shisha. Because
and these are normal ladies. They could be educated, non-educated,
even in schools.
Students.
In schools,
because in fact that study was done for the educational institutions. From DHS to SHS.
Exactly, because they feel the shisha. The shisha is kind of an affluence lifestyle that came into the country. When you look at the Arabian world, they usually have this thing. So because of the sleek nature and the beauty, the glamorization.
So they are paps.
Yes, paps. Because social media is glamorizing and normalizing the substance. But a study will tell you that an hour session of shisha is like smoking 100 pieces of cigarettes. So if you think shisha is beautiful, it's sleek, you are just puffing it out. You are smoking about 100.
It's not only the nicotine that's in now. They
are even adding marijuana
to it. Red and all that.
Yes, they are adding marijuana and other substances to it just to give more high. So that is what I just wanted to add to Doc's.
So Godwin Asedeba had this interaction with, Belinda had an interaction with somebody who's hooked on to one of these substances or the cocktail of these substances. And this is the interaction.
Only red at the cocoa. Only red.
Only red. To wheat. Do you know red? The latest most commonly used phrase on the streets, at the marketplaces, and even in offices. Then comes the question, what is red? Red, the latest tramadol craze, is meant to be a synthetic opioid pain reliever for managing moderate to severe pain. However, its abuse has spiraled into an epidemic, fueling addiction, overdoses, and dire consequences. Coffee, popularly known as Ajinkwa, is a habitual opioid abuser. On multiple occasions.
I've taken it for years now, so I'm addicted to it. That I take it for hard work. Anytime I work, I feel like taking it. When I work, I'm going to get tired quickly, as soon as possible.
There are different.
So, Dr. Sadohian, it means that those who tend to import this and want this to become a phenomenon have created a public health crisis, and it's now seeping into normal lifestyle of young people. So it means there's a target group. Can we equate it to the abuse of opioids in the U.S., where it's a fentanyl is coming from the borders of Latin America, and Trump is very hard on the abuse and all that? But
so it's comparable. Fentanyl is even high, much more potent than tramadol. But the problem we have here is with tramadol. Now there is a target group, and there are quite a lot. The commonest is the manual laborers, and they use it mostly for them to endure hard work, to suppress hunger.
Initially,
when they start using, that's the reason. Because of the euphoria they feel when they take it, it somehow make them be able to work harder longer. So that's why they use it. Some men use it to prolong their sexual drive, to prolong their sex. Initially, that's what they start using it for. And then another group of people that may use it are elderly people who are on chronic pain medications. And not just elderly people, but anyone with any medical condition that presents you with chronic pain, they may start using it prescribed by the doctor, and then over the time, they enter the black market to start continue using it. Another group will be health workers. Health workers, because they are already exposed to it, they know what it does, and if they have any issue, they quickly reach out to it because of availability, accessibility, and of course affordability. And then criminal groups. Criminal groups have been found to be people who use armed robbers, mostly are found with this tafrodol, timakin, and all that a lot because of the same thing. It makes them endure pain, and it kind of desensitizes their mindset. It makes them not feel pain for the other person. Now, when anybody is addicted to any drug of abuse, you are always looking for something new. Whether the substance of abuse or behavior of abuse, an addictive behavior, you're always looking for the novelty, the unique, something different. So you might start with, say, a low dose. When tolerance sets in, you start increasing the dose. But at a certain point, you plateau. You don't get what you want, the kick that you want. So you are forced to add on something. That's why they add the energy drink for the caffeine. That's why they add the weed, that's the cannabis, for another effect. That's why they add something on and keep adding. And some people, they combine different opioids, working different ways. Like they combine the red with tafrodol. They add the codeine-based cough mixture to it. They add the energy drink, which is the booster. Then they add weed. All this can be made in a cocktail. One sip, you have all these chemicals going down your system. And it has short-term and long-term severe negative effects on you. Now, most people who start this, nobody starts using any drug to become a junkie. Nobody starts to become a junkie.
The intention was not?
Has never been to become a junkie. You see, the way they look slow when they are slow like that, or what they are doing, is because of how the opioid works. It's sedating. It causes drowsiness. Higher doses is when you begin to see those effects. So if it's prescribed to any patient in the hospital, you will not see anybody behaving like that. Okay. Because you can take it during the daytime and still work perfectly. But when you're taking higher doses because of tolerance, you need higher doses to have the same effect. That's when the sedating effect kicks in very badly. But you'll be surprised that even though they are having that effect, which is negative in your sight, they still go back using it. Why? That is where it starts with impulsive use and then continues to compulsive use. Compulsive means you have to use it to be able to act semi-normal, to be able to do whatever it is you want to do. So if they don't use it, the reason why they keep going back is because of what we call withdrawal side effect. The withdrawal effect is the opposite of what you get when you take it. So when you don't use it, they may have severe pain. It could be joint pain, abdominal pain. They could be having nausea, vomiting, running tummy. They could become restless, agitated. Some of them may become aggressive, and it may be on certain mental illnesses. So most people are hooked on because if they stop, the withdrawal effect is so dire that they just want to quickly go back on it. It's not like they enjoy now they are not using it for pleasure. It's out of compulsion. They are forced to continue using. Even though they started with pleasure, they don't continue using for pleasure anymore. Now it's out of compulsion. And they will do anything just to feed and fuel that drug habit.
Ms. Odro, for the Narcotics Control Commission, I'm sure you might have had some observational surveys undertaken, maybe your monitoring, etc. Which segments of the population have or are being used for this behavioral change? And in what form are they? Is it that it's used in small parties or in pubs, etc.? What have you discovered so far to be the phenomenon?
Okay, I would say that we've not done a baseline survey to come up with some of these as a nation, but globally, studies will tell you that between the ages of 15 to 60 years, people are already using these substances. And I believe Ghana will not be different, because if you look at some of these videos that you were showing, you can clearly see their age range. And when it comes to the class of people, or maybe the society that is using, drug abuse is no respecter of status. We have people, white-collar job workers, blue-collar job workers, laborers. It cuts across. Like Doc said, nobody wants to be addicted to a substance, but drug abuse or the progression is like a slippery slope. So you go in there and before you realize you're already in it. And Doc asked the question that why do they want to go back? There is something we call the reward circuit, which is in the brain. So once everything that you do the reward circuit takes note of it. So the euphoric feelings that these substances give you is what the reward circuit will take note of and remind you again that go for it. So as I sit here now, Ghana, it will be difficult for me to give a clear-cut area or people who are abused. But like I said, drug abuse is no respecter of status, gender. It cuts across all.
So let's say young people in all forms of communities, they don't look shabby. They are from good homes, etc. They go for the normal. Your children go for the normal parties. They are on holidays or they are in school. They've gone for the normal parties. They are taking these smoothies. I identified somebody who told me that there was Sobolo. And the Sobolo, I think they went for a party, and that one, it was separated from the normal, but they had certain people among their friends who were going there. And then the person also went, and the Sobolo was apparently laced with something else. So how is that done? Is it that it's just innocently done at parties, etc., and then the addiction starts from there?
So what I would say is traditional use of drugs is shifting. In the past, when we talk of marijuana, we all know the role that people are going to smoke. But because of law enforcement and sophisticated ways, technology, people now want to get
stigma.
Yes, people now want to get new ways. So in exploring, like you said, now if you are home and you are expecting your boy or girl to come from school or a party smelling of smoke, you might be left back because now.
That's 1990
yes.
surveillance.
Maybe 2 decades ago, I would have said, but 20 years ago, I would have said, yes, people are smoking weed. But now people are eating weed.
Yes.
There are more of these edibles. So you go to a party, there is weed candy, there is weed cookies, weed salad, they have the Sobolo ones, and all these. So now the substances or the sophisticated nature of substance use per our checks is now changing. It has shifted. And the combination of substances too is
now
also
they are combining themselves.
Yes. So in the past we had cocaine, we had heroin, but now we have speedball, which is a combination of cocaine and heroin. So cocaine is a stimulant, which is stimulating the body, giving the body this boost energy. Depressant or heroin is a depressant, which is supposed to slow you down, like Doc said. So now you mix these two, speedball, that's the name they give to it. And the signal you send to the body is an up and down feeling. So now the body doesn't know whether it needs to be speed or it needs to slow down. So now the sophistication nature, because in the past, nobody thought of mixing cough mixture with energy drink. Energy drink contains caffeine, which is also a stimulant. Cough mixture, codeine, which is a depressant. So that's the up and down feeling. That is it. So
I see.
It's kind of changing. And as parents, I believe we need to be watchful because now you don't know what your child is going to take or the kind of friends that he's going to roll with. So we need to be very watchful. We need to listen to them and more or less engage them in such conversations.
So ideally, it means that the Narcotics Control Commission, the FDA, the Standards Authority, the Ghana Education Service,
yes.
Maybe parent-teacher associations, Ghana Health Service.
Yes.
I mean, just like the way we did the AIDS crisis in Ghana, or HIV AIDS crisis in Ghana, but ideally should be embarking on a massive public education campaign.
Yeah,
right?
we do.
You do?
Yeah. For example, all over. For example, in my region, Greater Accra, we are currently sensitizing schools in Ghana West. So we are going to all basic schools in Ghana West, from Kotoku, Midyear, Mayera, even Wednesday we are going back. And we are doing
public and private?
Yes, public.
Okay. Only public?
We do private, but now we are doing for the public. Because the private, sometimes, that's one of the challenges. They will tell you they run a strict academic calendar. So giving you slot is a bit difficult. But there are some of them that through NAPS and NACOC, we are able to, Ghana National Association of Private School, NAPS, we are able to do some of these.
I don't understand. You mean those in private school, they don't...
No, they do.
They don't abuse.
They abuse. But the point is, there's a private man running his or her business. It's up to him to give you yes, Ghana Education Service will give you the letter. You take to the mistress or the principal, then the person tells you, you will hear from me. You give them the calls, you follow up. Yes, we'll get back to you. We have a tight academic calendar. But for the public schools, we are able, through the SHEP coordinators and the school counselors, we are able to get easy access. So for now, in Ghana West, we are doing schools there. And just last quarter of last year, we are to Kankwe, that's the Achimota area, Kankwe North, Achimota area. We sensitized all the schools, both private, public, secondary, and junior high school. And when it comes to the agencies you mentioned, if you look at our board, all these agencies are part of our board. So we have reps from FDA.
Everybody is there.
Yes.
At NACOC. So you are the center. So everybody is
that's
there.
Our
ideally.
Board. That's our board.
That's an ideal situation.
They are there.
Because Dr. Tutubuahi's concern is that is it that we don't have a concerted effort?
Yeah.
Now, the question I'll pose to you, I'll do that after reading this. And this one is coming from one of your colleagues who works in one of, I think, it's one of your agencies.
Okay.
And says that, Roland, therein lies the problem. The traffickers or dealers of these pharmaceutical opioids bring it in and pass it off as legal drugs, especially painkillers, and this in a way makes NACOC's work difficult. If it comes in as a legal drug, then Food and Drugs Authority is responsible for dealing with it. Fighting this menace should be a concerted effort. Then he also says that there's what we call iatrogenic addiction, meaning the addiction to prescribed drugs. It's prevalent lately. A lot of doctors, health workers, etc. Okay. Then he says there's, even with red now, the users have discovered a substitute to it called Doretta.
Yes.
Doretta.
It's already in the
It has
system.
paracetamol and tramadol.
We'll talk about that.
Okay.
It's already in the system. It's a legal medication.
Doretta.
You should have even given the name out.
That's a brand name.
And aside that, it's already in the system. So now people are now, okay,
Approved.
we can.
Brand name.
Approved by FDA.
Okay, so they are using Doretta. Which is a legal, approved brand name drug.
Yes.
It's a complicated issue. Okay, so okay, we need a concerted effort. My NAP is also saying yes. My friend says, Ms. Odro says this. Dr. Sedohian says that as well. How do we undertake this as a concerted? Because this clearly is a public health crisis, but because it's not a malaria, it's not the normal health crisis that you find. We're not giving it consideration.
Yeah. So you see, Roland, that takes me back to my earlier submission. And the point still remains that, you see, the relevant institutions, just as the viewer tested, should come together in the first place. I want to see that done within, the principles of engagements and collaborations. All right. What it means is that, elsewhere, criminals are arrested, they are not condemned, they try to, play on their psyche, get all the details and information that will be helpful, okay, so that they can narrow down on, the perpetrators of that crime, all right, and then use them. Now, Roland, I probably may not have the details, but it still dawns on me that, you see, these guys who move in the marketplaces selling drugs, especially these Malians, are the
You mean
guys,
the Colibar people? The Sahel, those from the Sahelian
exactly.
countries.
These are the guys who actually push some of these drugs.
True.
All right. And so...
You mean they cross our borders with it?
Oh, yes. They bring it and they push it to the users as well. All right. Now, how do we get these guys for them to be of benefit for the fight against this menace? If you're able to do that, I think that it will help. But beyond that, in terms of collaborations, all relevant institutions that can help fight this menace, I think that they have to come together. And like Mr. Odo said, the Narcotic Control Commission Act 2020, which is the 1019, give details of all these things. So they are all there. When you read that act, you see the question that you ask, the solution is there. Because I've seen focus on treatment, okay, rather than punishment, to the guys who use the drugs. Why? Because when you punish these guys, even if you are finding them the minimum, which is 2,400 Ghana cedis, and a maximum of 6,000 Ghana cedis, they wouldn't have the means to pay. They wouldn't. All right. And so, are you going to jail them and spend resources on them? No. Basically, you see, some of these people, like Doc said, they don't go in there with the intention that they want to get addicted. Sometimes, because of certain frustrations, they tend to find themselves using it once in a while. And out of that, they get addicted. Now you can't live without it. So what do? You go and steal something small in order to get money so that you can go and then, use it. Now, when you are able to get these guys, or let's say you arrest them, Roland, check circle under the bridge there. Daylight, they are
you mean under the overhead?
Under the overhead, yeah. The
interchange
there, yeah. Daylight, they are using it. All right. Now, these are people who have already given up in life. Are we saying that there's no use for them? Again, Ghana must come in. Okay. Do we have recreational centers in Ghana? Have you built any, facility that would take care of such people apart from, what's the name? The Ankafo,
the psychiatric
hospital and all that. These are, we need to have certain rehabilitation centers where we can push such people there. By the time they are out, right, they have certain vocation, that they can depend on. And when they get out of some of these frustrations, economic frustrations, all right, basically they'll be useful to the country. Now, beyond that, the issue of criminalization of this menace, we need to enforce it. Roland, why would we allow people to perpetrate such criminality on our society? And we believe that, look, we don't even know how they operate. No, that cannot be. Then probably, of course, our level of intelligence, in fighting some of these crimes, is far below expectations. I believe that we should have that level of intelligence that even if, Ghana, our borders, we have so many unapproved goods, right? And so it will be easy for some of these drugs to even come in, even on our, in our how do you call it, the sea, okay? And according to the BBC expose, one of the routes is through the sea. All right. Now, even if they get in there, back again, are we able to conduct market surveillance to the point that any food, drink, or drug in there, we are in the position to track it within maximum 21 days or 30 days? All right. And then deal with it. If our intelligence is working, Roland, I don't see why this should be a problem for us. Even if it is a problem, why we cannot even combat it? And that is where I feel that, you see, people in authority must step up their game. They should rise up. Because earlier on I was saying that when we check our educational institutions, and the fact that whether our students are experimenting with it or it has become a lifestyle or something, look, the future doesn't seem so bright. It doesn't. And if you are not able to reduce, I mean, how would you look at young boys and girls in basic school? Okay, 59.9% of them, approximately 60%, of the population that were sampled are, involving, how do you call it, drug usage. It is not good for us as a country going forward. And I think that the government should frown on this. Narcotic Control Board should frown on it. FDA should frown on it, and they should step up their game. Probably, if you are talking about lack of resources, that is understandable. But lack of resources doesn't mean that you shouldn't solve a problem. All right? Improvisation is equally important. And going forward, we need to look at some of these things and then see how we can help. Mr. Odro was talking about the collaboration with all the relevant institutions, and earlier on we were asking him about, education and all that. Yes, he said he admitted that they are doing something like that. But I feel that if you go and deliver a talk in an educational institution, and then you go back and you don't put up a structure in place within that particular institution, then of course that talk or education wouldn't be sustainable. All right. And so I think that some of these institutions have this psychology and counseling, offices. All right. I think that we can collaborate with them, resource them, and then from time to time, they would be engaging students who are suspected of doing ABCD, and then probably bring you guys in for you to have that one-on-one, Earlier on, we were talking about the reward issue, right? Yes. Roland, you remember some time ago in our discussion, I was talking about the fact that, for you to give up a certain behavior, the reward always becomes, a challenge. Okay, that becomes a competing variable. Now, what I mean by this, what do I mean by this? What I mean is that, you see, when we are talking about people giving up on the use of Red 225, the question is that what Red 225 is giving to that person, are you able to give a higher motivation or reward that when the person comes out of it, the person will feel that, yes, I gave up the use of Red 225 for this particular thing, and this one is helping. Because if you don't do that, then the competition of Red 225 will still be in place. So even if you pick the person out, the person definitely will go back. Because what I was getting earlier on, I am no longer getting it. Okay, so the competition nature of the reward is what we need to look at. The motivation that will make the person exit and then permanently live a new life is what we are looking at. And so I would equally advise or recommend that Narcotic Control Board, in partnership with FDA, should be able to go beyond education and then probably look at the competing rewards that will make this fight more sustainable than before.
Yes. So how are you tackling it as a public health crisis? Or is it even a public health crisis?
It is obviously a public health crisis, and we need to understand how it begins mostly from GSS and SHS, and mostly from peer pressure. The fear of missing out, the curiosity of the young mind, the developing mind, will get them to experiment with some of these things. And then they may chance on the euphoric effects. And then they may want to continue using it. There are a lot of people deceiving a lot of people about, if you use these substances, you're able to learn longer, you're able to retain much more data. But it's not true. In the long run, it has significant effect on your cognitive functioning. That means your ability to reason, to perform tasks, reduces, your academic performance declines. So mostly from peer pressure. Now, the reward system that they're talking about, when you use this substance of addiction for a long time, it messes up your reward circuit. This is how it does it. So ideally, if you drink water, you eat, you socialize, you rest, or you have sex, there is a reward in your system. That's dopamine. Dopamine is what does for pleasure and motivation. You're surprised about the last one I mentioned. I know that. Hey. Now, there's a reward that makes you want to do it again. That's a motivation. So you drink water, the way you feel, there's a release, a level of release of the dopamine. If you eat food, you socialize, you do other things, there's a physiological amount that is released in the system. Now, drugs of abuse all have a common pathway, which is they all lead to releasing higher amounts of that same chemical, dopamine. Now, once it continues to release higher amounts of that same chemical, dopamine, it messes up your system such that your system is not able to produce on its own. Even if it produces, it's not enough for you.
Naturally.
That is naturally. The natural production is shut down. That factory is shut down until it is stimulated by the drugs of abuse, such that you prefer to use the drugs for the higher release of the dopamine than eating, socializing, doing other things which I don't want to mention. You understand? So you prefer, that's why people who are addicts or dependent on these drugs will not eat. They won't do anything. They will not go to work. They prefer to rather use the drug. Again, nobody starts out to become a junkie. But because your reward circuit is messed up, you prefer to have the higher dopamine in your system. So you prefer to go and use the drugs of choice, which in this case, red. Now, again, when it comes to this, people who are addicts will find ways and means of getting their substance of abuse. So you mentioned a particular drug that is a combination of paracetamol and tramadol. So people who abuse are always on the lookout for, where can I get this? If they go to the pharmacy and the pharmacy is a good pharmacy and they don't sell these things without prescription, they have found a way to go around it to get these things on prescription. That is the one you mentioned. I don't know if I'm allowed to mention the trade name. Should I?
Doretta.
Doretta. Yeah, it's a combination of paracetamol and tramadol. But the dose of tramadol in there is within physiological limits, normal limits, approved by FDA. But because they are abusing the tramadol already, they will have to combine lots of pills. Now that brings another problem. Paracetamol abuse can also lead to other issues. So paracetamol in higher doses also affects your body, the liver and other things. So they have to combine lots of pills of this Doretta to get a similar effect that they would have gotten on the tafrodol, the red, or whatever substance they are abusing. And mostly we found that they don't just use these ones in isolation. They combine them. Now, because it starts mostly at the youthful stage, and the danger here is the prefrontal cortex, where your reasoning, your risk assessment, your attention, all these things are from the executive function of you. It gets matured from 24 years and above. And these young ones are using this drug at 10, 13, 15, which means that the circuit gets messed up far earlier and it disrupts the process. So it's like your brain is, there are neurons in your brain. So it gets pruned in a particular area. So it cannot function in that area. When it happens like that, it then develops in a different area. You need certain connections, we call neural connections, synapses, to help you with your memory, with your concentration, with your attention. That's what makes you function normally as a human being. All these things get messed up when you start using these substances of abuse. So
it affects their cognitive function.
Yes.
So they become unproductive later in life.
Your productivity dwindles a lot. Your academic, so parents will have a lot of early signs that they should be able to pick up.
Like,
if your child begins to become secretive, if your child is now putting up certain behavioral patterns that is not usual of the child, maybe becoming easily angry, secretive, no more wanting to socialize, come out among people. If there's sharp decline academically of your child, you know this child among top 3, top 5. Now he's top 3 from bottom. You should be concerned. If your child is not taking care of their physical look, you should be concerned. You should suspect that something is, if they're beginning to hang out with new people, they are hanging out late and coming late nights. They are almost always on their phone, social media. You should be concerned. And it's also important, like Mr. Odro is saying, beyond the education in the classrooms, the parents also need to know these things. And they also need to know how badly it affects these children. Their cognitive function, their academic performance, their social life, all this is affected because once the reward circuit is messed up, you don't want to bath, you don't want to eat, you don't want to socialize because those don't give you pleasure anymore. Only the drugs give you pleasure. So that's what you seek after. And you even want to drop out of school just to follow red.
So right now, how do you, as a public health system, how are you dealing with those who are abusing the combinations? Because I cannot say it's
okay, so I am at the clinical level. Yeah. So for example, people who abuse it, when they become addicted. Now, addiction now is recognized as a chronic brain disorder. So it's a disease. It's not that you choose to. When two people can abuse a substance of abuse, one person may be able to stop. The other person may not just really be able to stop because addiction now is known to be genetic 50%. So two people may be taking alcohol. One person may be a social drinker, maybe a weekend warrior, but another person cannot put down the glass when they start. Because of the genetic weekend warrior. That means they take only during the weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and they don't drink Monday to Friday. So because of the genetic predisposition. So you notice in families, most of my clients that I see, there's a family pattern. The mother or the father or the uncle or somebody in the family was addicted to mostly the commonest in the past. Like he said, the natural pattern that we knew is changing, but in the past it used to be alcohol and then weed. It used to be people smoking weed, now they eat weed, like he said. And the eating is even more dangerous. Because when you eat the weed in the eatable, the eateries, you will not have the immediate effect from the same as when you smoke it. So you are tended to take more. Because you take 3 to 4 hours for it to feel the effect. But smoking few minutes, few seconds, you get it. So because you've not felt how you wanted to feel, you are forced to take more, then you overdose. Because you didn't know what you were taking was going to work after 2-3 hours. You understand? So the parents also need to know how it affects the children. They have to be able to detect early signs in their children. And not just, and most of these days, parents are not even available. They are busy. And children now get more of their training from their peers, from social media. So that's how these things are missed. And once the reward circuit is messed up, it becomes a problem. Now, when they come to the clinical level, what do? Of course, we know it's a disease. So we help them with detoxification, where they will be admitted on a ward for at least 7 to 10 days. And the ideal practice is from detoxification phase, they go straight into a residential rehabilitation facility. Ideally. Or maybe an OPD version of the rehabilitation. Because the person needs to be Why? Because now, activities of daily living are all given up in preference to the drug. So they have to literally retrain you. If you go, I work in Pantan Rehab for some time, I work in a psychiatric hospital. When you see the people who are dependent on these drugs of abuse, multiple of them, they literally have to now retrain them when to wake up, when to bath, how to keep your surroundings clean. Because when they are in use, they don't care about their surroundings. They are reckless in their behavior, sexually disinhibited, behavioral aggressive. They don't care. They will do criminal activities. Is common among this group because they need to get the drug. They don't care if they have to steal from you, kill you, maim you, just so that they get the next day. That most people who do this Kwashi boys and all that, those who are doing things on the road, where they pretend they are actually mending the road, no, they're just looking for ways to get money for their next shot. They are not there because they love Ghana so much they want to mend the road. Most of them are addicts who are just looking for 5 cedi, 10 cedi, 20 cedi, 100 cedi, something to just go to the ghetto. Most of those who are directing traffic, begging people in traffic, they will do anything for the next dose.
So the assumption is that those who tend to abuse such substances or the combinations are such people. But
no, now anyone can use drugs. Now I've seen corporate people in Thai. Again,
what's the difference then?
The pattern sometimes, the pattern is this. For example, let's start with alcohol. If you are a high profile person and you abuse alcohol, you're going to have whiskey and coke in the fridge. But if you are low there farmer, you have it under your bed. There's always early eye opening. We call it eye opening. Most people who are alcohol dependent, they have to take alcohol in the morning before they get out of their rooms. So if you're a big boss, you can afford, you're going to have whiskey in your fridge. If you don't have money, you have competition, or you have the blue kiosk nearby. That's what you go to. Now, many people who are high profile will abuse the most expensive drugs, cocaine, heroin, and coke. People who cannot afford will go with the tafrodol, the cannabis, and even some of them abuse cocaine, but not in a purest form. Even with cocaine, there is purity levels. Mr. Doe will tell you. The big boys will go for the high purity levels, and then people who are now, coming to the market who cannot afford, will go for those that are laced with other things. That the purity is way down, and that poses extra health burden, which is the other chemical that it is combined with also affects you negatively. So drug offer is not just for the ghettos anymore. People in offices, high profile people, big people who are mentors, supposed to be people we are supposed to look up to, abusing drugs as well. And most of these people need help too.
Okay. So now, what's the way forward now?
The way forward is...
How is this a big issue for you, for which you are preferring some solution? Because from what you're telling me, the guys, they are coming in legally, but the users are using it. And those who are bringing the drugs legally know that this is the effect it's going to have in the population.
So, like I said earlier, for narcotics, what we are doing is now our acts mandate us to treat addiction as a public health issue. So we no longer criminalize it. Like Doc was saying, we don't go to circle under the bridge to arrest them for prosecution, or maybe what our act is now telling us to, or Section 45 tells that the court, based on their discretion, if the person is able to establish that they are addicted, be referred to a rehabilitation center. But unfortunately, the problem with rehabilitation in all over the world, because the 2023 World Drug Report stated something that 1 in 5 people are seeking treatment. And in Ghana here, from the data we had in 2021, we had about 411 people, only 411 people in rehabilitation centers. 2023 down the line, it reduced to 185, which means that people, even though drug use disorder is going up, people are not seeking treatment. And it's partly based on or due to stigmatization, the way we stigma. Unfortunately, in our part of the world, all the rehabilitation centers are private. The few ones that are public are the psychiatry hospital. And we know what we attach to psychiatry. We see them as people who are mentally unstable. So if somebody like me, a deputy commander, I'm addicted to alcohol, and you tell me I should go and sign in at Pantan or Ankafo, how will people see me? I'm mentally stable. So that stigma kind of prevents people from seeking help from these public institutions. That's the only 4. I think Kwalebu addiction disease units, the Pantan, Ankafo, and Accra Psychiatry. These are the only public ones. They are not even totally public. They are semi, because I think there is some partnership in there.
They're running it.
All the rest,
there's psychiatric also in Accra.
Yes, all the rest are private, and they charge as high as 3,000 to 4,000 per month. So cost of rehabilitation is kind of preventing people from going into it. The stigmatization and all these things that I mentioned are located down south, which means if you are addicted to these substances up north, there's wahala for you. You will not get a chance to access treatment up north unless you travel all the way down south. So what Narcotics Control Commission is doing is we are partnering with these, or we partner with these rehabilitation centers, and we give them training. So from 2019 to date, we've trained about 80 professionals, including nurses, doctors, counselors, to help them or to augment their skills in addiction treatment. That is one thing that we are doing. I think this year we are even coming up with another training for about 30 people in the universal treatment curriculum. We give this training to people so that they can help in the fight, because like we are saying, Doc said something and I was kind of listening to him where I was like, when it comes to the issue of drug addiction, it's not always about even resources. If it was about resources, or it was about how sophisticated the intelligence and everything is, America will not be crying of fentanyl.
True.
America
they have a big crisis on
that is
hands.
it. America, if you go to the streets of Philadelphia now,
Philadelphia,
it's worse. What we see here is just a minute of
Philadelphia.
it. So it tells you that there are.
It's not only Philadelphia, other states.
Yes,
yeah.
but it tells you that the fight against this or this particular menace is kind of multifaceted. You can have all the resources. I know a lot of guys who are coming from well-to-do homes,
No idea.
and they can't fight addiction. Their parents are ready to pay, but still, they are battling with it. If you permit me to mention,
that's why it's a disease.
Yes. Yeah. So now we are seeing it like someone with hypertension or someone with diabetes. We are managing it. And one thing maybe Doc refused to mention: addiction is not curable. It's manageable. You cannot cure addiction and say that, oh,
you take it one day at a time.
Yes. Lapse is part of treatment. Relapse is part of treatment. But in our part, the person goes into treatment, comes back and relapse. Hey, he couldn't, then we leave him. A typical case is our musical legend, Okomfo Kwade. Okomfo Kwade has been into rehab, treatment, in and out. And people are like, he's not serious, he doesn't want to. If you understand the complex nature of this disease that we are talking about,
so it means that even
you understand them.
Psychology of the public is of the population is very important.
That is it. They need to understand.
Just to be receptive of.
That is the point, because one problem we have in our country is outcasting these guys. How many of us wake up in the morning, go to Odona, and even interact with our brothers down there? We feel these people have brought this upon themselves. But like Doc said, addiction is as a result of nature and nurture. Yes. There are people who are getting this through genetics. There are children born addicted. Because if your mother was using alcohol, she gave birth to you, you are already addicted to the substance. So all you need is just a trigger and you will be there. But unfortunately, in our part of the world, we see it to be a moral defiance. We kind of cast them out. Once you, even our education, they will dismiss you from school. We are still in talks with GES and other headmasters and mistresses. Do not dismiss them. Refer them for treatment. Because once you dismiss them, then it's like you release the person now into the streets. And Doc says something. If you are a high-profile person and you become addicted, trust me, you will end up in the ghetto. Because you'll be dismissed. If you are working in media general, you sit here and every day you come to work drunk or you come to work intoxicated. Management will dismiss you one day. And once they dismiss you, you find yourself on the street. Yes. So that is how complicated or complex this whole thing is. So as narcotics control, we are going on with our education. We are collaborating with other sister agencies to block the entries and the exits so that they don't come in, or when they come into, we get them and destroy them. We are doing our education, but then the counseling aspect too, we offer counseling services to people. Then when it's time, we refer them to rehab.
Multifaceted.
Yes, but that one is based on available of resources. If your parents...
Even the education, I'm sure you're not doing it comprehensively because you don't have the resource. The budget is just not there.
As for the education, we are able to do
something.
Yes, and like you are helping us now. We always appeal to media houses because we believe that mass media travels faster. Now, as we sit here this morning, you wouldn't believe the number of people who are listening to this particular message. Unlike we going maybe University of Ghana to have a symposium or a seminar there, it's just for the people in there. So we always appeal to media. And what I will leave here, and I want everybody to get, is the fight is not for Narcotics Control Commission alone. It's
also not for the
FDA alone.
The Ghana Mental Health
No. It's parents.
Is it service?
Yes.
Okay,
as a parent, you have your role to play. As a politician, as a community leader, as a chief. Because when these people are in need of their drugs and they decide to hit the streets to get their next dose, they don't care who you are.
Is it possible some politicians are addicted?
Some, yes.
It's possible.
There's a possibility. I think it cuts across all social status.
No one needs
because
men of God. Men of God. No, not the way they've been talking.
Not the way they talk.
No, you know, the funny thing is, those who are addicted,
you may not know.
They don't talk. They don't talk in any. Those guys at SEC are very peaceful. You know, if you see them, they are minding their business.
So we turn attention to some of the peaceful politicians.
Not necessarily that. Not necessarily that. But what I'm trying to say is that you cannot use one thing to just tag somebody that the person is addicted. There are about 11 criteria that you need to tick before you can say somebody is addicted to a substance. So it's very
with
complex.
all this, I just want to touch on addiction is a complex thing.
Yeah, wait.
Okay.
You have the last word.
Okay.
Who gave us the 11 pointers? You did.
He did.
Okay. So now what do we do going forward? Because now it is multifaceted. What do we do? Then we'll come to his side and then 11 pointers.
Yeah, I think that we all agree that it's not a fight that can be fought in isolation. You know, we need all hands on deck, you know, to be able to fight and then probably, as it were, win this war. Yeah. But what I probably may want to suggest as one of the cardinals that probably could help us, you know, further, is that if we can have trained personnel, social workers, you know, social psychologists, you know, who probably will be trained, you know, going down there with that specialization in fighting drug abuse and all that. And then probably they are trained, they are employed by, you know, the Narcotic Control Board, FDA, and stuff, so that these people are pushed down there and then they interact with people, identify people who are actually suffering from some of these things, and then probably know the reasons, refer them to the appropriate, you know, rehabilitation centers, you know, for further treatment and help. I probably may also want to suggest that, looking at the stigmatization that is leveled to people with problems who may end up at psychiatric hospitals and all that, I think that if you can have special rehabilitation centers where people can just walk in to meet, even if they have to meet private doctors, on their own, I think that it will also go a long way. You see, people may ask the question as to whether we are there yet as a country, but I feel that innovation in everything is very important. All right, so we probably may not have the resources of US, Canada, UK and the rest, but the exigencies of the issue demands that we have a budget to develop, a rehabilitation center, probably in regional capitals, with specialists in there to do that. It will help very well, because you see, if we would limit our solutions, to the limitations of FDA and all that, we wouldn't get that far.
So we need a comprehensive.
Exactly.
All right.
And we will need government support and commitment in all this.
What are your pointers? You said 11.
Yeah, so
can you share some of them?
Yeah, the DSM gives 11 pointers that you need to take before you can consider someone as addicted. First one is tolerance. So if the person takes the substance and the body tolerates it, and we need higher dose to get equal feeling in the past, then there is a tick. If your drug use interferes with your social and recreational functions, so the person starts skipping school or work, starts skipping parties just to go and use the substance, then there is also a problem. If there are cravings, when you are there, there is a strong desire to go and use the substance, it's also a pointer. And if abstinence becomes difficult, you cannot cope without it, it's also another pointer. Then we can also look at trying to add more, increasing the quantity. So maybe at first I was doing a bottle of beer, but it gets to a level and I have to do 2
we're
shots.
Not talking about beer.
Yes.
We're talking red.
Yes, so basically they all act the same. So maybe I started with a tablet of red just to get a fix. But it gets to a time now I need to double the red, 2 tablets before I can get the same fix. Then people now start adding other substances, energy drink, just to get equal fix. Then there is a problem. So they have these things that listed there. So when you go and see doc at any rehab or any facility, they will ask you all these questions. They will profile you, and once they start ticking these boxes, they can now say that you are.
The energy drink, what does it do? Like it keeps you.
It's a stimulant.
awake.
It has higher levels of caffeine,
yes,
which is a stimulant.
Yes.
In addition to higher calorie.
Well, I've seen a lot of drivers take it a lot.
Yes.
Especially you go to some of the busy areas.
Yes, the stimulating.
Those who take long, who go long distances.
It's the caffeine. To keep them awake. Most of them don't want to sleep. That's the cause of abstinence. Now,
you were saying something.
So I'll do a great disservice if I don't get this link out clear. First of all, there's no one amongst all 4 of us, and none of us here is immune to mental illness or mental disorders. Addiction is now recognized as a mental disorder. It's a chronic brain disorder. And most the people who are addicted, there is 50% genetic reasons why, which means it's no more like a moral failure. Just that you can't control yourself when we're having a drink or you took 1 tablet of this and that. There are people that you prescribe tramadol for, genuinely in the hospital, then they tip into iatrogenic addiction where, oh, take this for 2, 3, 4, 5 days. Before you know it, they are on it for the next 5 years because they just couldn't find themselves to stop. There are other people also, when they have it, they have what we call, instead of euphoria, they have dysphoria. So those ones will stop it immediately because they are reacting to the tramadol. So they I don't like this one. Don't give me this one again. But there are other people who are like, I like what you gave me. Give me just that one. So there's a link between mental illness or mental disorders and drug abuse. Now, most people use these drugs as a negative or wrong way to cope with symptoms of mental illnesses. Mood disorders is number 1. Depression, anxiety. Most people are going through a lot in their life, privately and publicly, that they use these drugs to just give them a kick. Just like people drink alcohol because they supposedly want to forget about their sorrows. Most of these young guys are going through a lot. There are people who are going through, aside depression and anxiety, who are going through post-traumatic stress disorder or acute stress disorder or acute stress reaction, where they go through something very traumatizing. Key among them is sexual abuse, physical abuse, or something from the workplace. And they use these drugs to wrongly cope. There are lots of partners, people, marriages and whatever, who are known when they close from work, they don't go home. They go somewhere to take something just because maybe what they're going to meet at home, they may not like it. So there's a link between mental disorders and the drug offense. So most people use it wrong. And also another group that is highly predisposed to using it is people with ADHD. Attention, and we are diagnosing a lot of them now in the older generation. Ideally, if proper screening is done at the school level, where the teachers are able to pick it up quickly, a lot can be done at that young level.
Where the attention span is short?
Yes, because the academic performance may be dwindling and they may just be tagged as wabong, his dull and all that, but that may not be the case. They be just so there are a lot of issues that make people want to use mental disorders, and the drugs of abuse also can predispose you to having mental disorders. It can actually worsen the mental disorders. So there are a lot of reasons why people may. Now the treatment. My senior man was talking about going to see private doctors, and yes, that would be.
You mean Dr. Tutu Buahin?
Dr. Tutu Buahin was saying that they need to go and see, but we don't want to do that. That still promotes stigma. The service now, mental health care service, is not being decentralized. That's how Kolibu now has a ward. It used not to be so. We don't want people to just keep walking to maybe Accra Academy Hospital alone or Pantine or Ankafu alone. Whichever district hospital you are, you should be able to walk to the mental health unit and get help. Addiction is a disease just like any chronic medical condition like SLE, hypertension, diabetes, asthma. That is how we want to destigmatize it. And the message is no one is immune to mental disorders. So if somebody is addicted to substances, you are not better than that person. Because it's a very slippery slope. And you can, and we're also talking about relapse as part of the treatment. True. People may go to rehab centers 3, 4, 5 times before they are able to remain in recovery for long. The fact that they relapse doesn't mean they are not serious in life, they are lazy, and they are not. No, it's not. It's all part of the journey. When there are physical changes in your brain when you are using drugs of abuse, starting from the dopamine I'm talking about, it wires you differently. Your preference for things changes. You wouldn't come to work. You prefer to be in your bed. You go to the ghetto to get the next dose. It's that very complex. And treatment of addiction is very expensive in Ghana. He mentioned 4,000. No, it's not 4,000. It's a minimum of 6,000 and above a month. And for a comprehensive treatment, Pantan does that very well. Pantan rehab, it's at least 6 months. But most of the private rehab centers, people cannot afford to be there for 6 months. So they do a shabby one, a month. And the person thinks, I'm okay to go home now.
Well,
there is no quick fix. It's not curable, so there's no quick fix.
I mean, there's a quick fix for the rehab process that ideally should have been undertaken for a 6 month period.
Yes, but it's not ideal because, like he rightly said, it's not curable. You are in recovery. Once you understand, you are forever in recovery. You keep counting your days. You take it one day at a time. So you need at least the 6 months for behavioral modification, and it's expensive. So the advice is you don't even start at all. Don't touch that substance because it's going to ruin your life. 6,500 plus a month for 6 times 6. Take that from your salary or that of your father or mother, and that is quite an amount. And that is just for being there. And then there are other we have dual diagnosis where the individual is not only addicted to substances but may also have a mental disorder underlying or precipitated by the drugs of use. That also complicates the issue. And then your social life may be affected, your occupational function may be affected. So it's a lot of issues put together.
Do you know cash out? Do you know cash out?
No, I don't know cash out.
Okay, so *439# enables you to get money credited into your mobile money account.
Okay.
So you dial *439#, you increase the number of, so you will find it there.
Yeah.
Then you'll get a prompt on your phone. Then you choose option 8.
Okay.
Then when you choose option 8, it will tell you how many tickets you need to dial as well. So if you choose 5 tickets, for example, you dial it, you get a message. It means that your number will be replicated 8 times or 10 times the number of tickets you have on the electronic dashboard.
Okay.
So when we do the draws, When we do the,
what is in it for me?
when we do the draw, you get money.
What is in it for me?
All right, we'll do the first draw very soon. And before we conclude, we have a number of messages. We'll also read that, and then we'll conclude. Okay, so the first winner, 10,000 Ghana cedis going to this winner. Subsequently, is it, how much is this one? We want to gradually go to 10,000. 0591654. So then we'll subsequently, we're going to have 2,000 going to this one, and then we'll graduate to that level.
Check my number.
Okay, 3,000 as well, 5,000. Make sure you become one of those lucky winners.
It looks like my number.
And then let me just read a couple of messages. And okay, you are a deputy commander.
Yes.
Greater Accra.
Greater Accra.
NACOC. Okay, you guys are doing some great work. I'm told that you don't have resources, but you don't want to say. I'm told that you don't want to say because you don't want to be tagged like king. So not the fire service, but it's not a problem. Now, let me just read this. This one is coming from somebody who is a health practitioner and says that Swale from Kintampo. Okay, so I'm enjoying your program. The police will need to clamp down on the drug stores who are selling these drugs. Some of us can also help them to arrest some of these people. Okay, I understand that as well. This one is coming from a health practitioner based in the whole polyclinic, TMK. He says what we need to do or ought to do is to expand affordable government-funded rehab centers with trained staff who are well paid, else they'll sell the drugs to the patients. Integrate medication-assisted treatment into recovery programs, strengthen community-based support systems, that's peer counseling, job training, etc. The gentleman knows his stuff. Launch a nationwide awareness campaign. It was something I was asking of, but it takes a lot of money.
We do the medication-assisted therapy in Ghana.
Okay,
all the facilities here we do.
Okay, and then we have MK Erickson. So he says, as a health professional, the way to curb this drug abuse is to start educating young people on the lethal negative effects, right from basic school to secondary school. And in doing so, we must involve parents. And here is where we must get our PTAs to work effectively once again. And, well, so we have a couple more as well. So, but look, I've enjoyed the discussion. It looks like a lot of people. Sherry Giovanni wanted to share something, but he's not. He's coming late to the table. Dr. Tutu Boy, thank you for joining us this morning. Sure. And then also Ms. Odro. That's Reese Hakim. Odro is a deputy commander at the Narcotic Control Commission for Greater Accra. Thank you. And also Dr. Albert Sadohiam is with the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, the Ghana Mental Health Authority wing. No, you're a specialist.
Social psychiatrist.
Okay, so he's a specialist psychiatrist, or how do you call it?
Psychiatrist at the Department of Psychiatry.
Okay, Department of Psychiatry, Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Thank you for passing through. Okay, great education. I hope the next time we'll call you again, you'll find some time. Today's a holiday, so many of you are free. All right, thank you. We hope that you did enjoy this sort of education, but it also means that you also have to add some level of entertainment to your life, because you have to hop into the Easter at the Marlin Resort, because you're going to join them for egg hunt, feasts and adventures. You choose from their exclusive Easter packages for couples, and the common package have great features, including the full board meal plan, which is breakfast, lunch, dinner. You also have accompanying assorted local beverages and dispenser water. Breakfast accompanied by soothing morning classical songs. So you're having breakfast and you're listening to Kenny G or something like Kujo Akwabwa or something like that. All available. They have their lunch at the upscale Kente Grill. So you're going to have that restaurant available for you. Whilst that is taking place, you're going to have some romantic bonfire dinners at the Gazebo Garden. You access all the facilities. They have their swimming pool. They have state-of-the-art gyms for those of you who want to trim. They have in-house games, free Wi-Fi available. They also have complimentary fruit platter, fish feeding package options, and the options are available. So they have the Marlin family package, and this is an all-inclusive package, and the prices upon request are also tailor-made to fit your group size, for example. So they have the Lovers Gate package, which is going for 3,400 Ghana cedis, which is ideal for a short holiday getaway as well. They have the double treat package, 5,700 Ghana cedis. You also get, alongside this package, to stay one night. You get the second night for free, where you're also going to have a dinner on arrival and breakfast on your final day. And they have the triple treat package, which is going for 6,900 Ghana cedis, where you're going to have a 2-night stay. You get the third night complimentary or for free. Then you have the luxury and relaxation, making sure you treat yourself to all the good things of life alongside your loved ones. To an unforgettable Easter, you have to make sure that you experience this at the Marlin Resort. You have to do the booking. You have to do it now until the 20th of March to get 10 to 20% discount on the package or the rates that they have. So this is what you need to do. You have to make sure you book for this pleasant stay. And the numbers are 059 2024 622, 059 2024 591, or 059 2024 292. You can also email them for reservations, and the email is reservations at Marlin, so to speak. Let me say that again. Reservations at marlin-resort.com. You can also visit them on their website or social media platforms to get the latest. We're taking a break. We'll be right back.
hasretin var. Yürekler aşkınla çarpar. Sensiz dünya bizlere dar. Selam sana ey kutlu yar. With submission, faith and patience, you conveyed the noble message, brought us light through your guidance. Peace be upon you, my beloved. Ya Habibi, Ya Muhammad, Ya Nabi, salam alayka. Ya Rasul, salam alayka. Ya Habib, salam alayka. Salawatullah alayka. Ya Nabi, salam alayka. Ya Rasul, salam alayka. Ya Habib, salam alayka. Salawatullah alayka. तेरी मोहब्बत की महक से ये ज़मीन व आसमां आबाद है. रहमत की बरसात आती है दिलो जां या रसूल अल्लाह. अय्युहल मुख्तार फीना ज़ादना الحب حنينا. جئتنا بالخير دينا يا ختام المرسلين. يا حبيبي يا محمد يا نبي سلام عليك. يا رسول سلام عليك. يا حبيب سلام عليك. صلوات الله عليك. يا نبي سلام عليك. يا رسول سلام عليك. يا حبيب سلام عليك. صلوات الله عليك. يا نبي سلام عليك. يا رسول سلام عليك. يا حبيب سلام عليك. صلوات الله عليك. يا نبي سلام عليك. يا رسول سلام عليك. يا حبيب سلام عليك. صلوات الله عليك. يا نبي سلام عليك. يا رسول سلام عليك. يا حبيب سلام عليك. صلوات الله عليك. يا نبي.
Well, so the holiday is still on. It also means that for wherever you find yourself, well, we're still within the period of the Eid, and you can, as many times as possible, make sure that you join. Now, we have cash out. It goes with a short code star 439. Can we do some draw quickly as possible? Let's see whether we can give some 3,000 Ghana cedis to a number of you. 5,000 Ghana cedis given so far. I want to reach that 10,000 Ghana cedis for everybody else. Do it in multiples as well. The number 02499989 is winning this morning. There's 5,000 Ghana cedis to give. There's 10,000 Ghana cedis, and all of you will become lucky winners. So good morning to you, Richard Sechi of Richmond Sechi of the whole technical university, wishing you all the best for the day with the HR department, wishing you the period where I am hoping you're going to enjoy the holiday as many times as you can. But we'll take you also to the Black Star Square or the Independence Square, where we have the National Chief Imam leading prayers there. We'll do that later in the day. But in the meantime, let's get to the regions and speak to a number of our correspondents to gauge the mood, how our brothers and sisters are celebrating the Eid. And Christopher Mwako is with Northern Region Bureau, as well as the Savannah, as well as Northeast Region Bureau. He's joining us. Chris, what's it like so far? Northeast Region, Savannah, and then the Northern Region.
Yes, so Roland, today is a big day for the Muslim community across the world. Here in the Northern Savannah and Northeast regions,